I'm so happy, excited. Second day two of the ICF India Conclave, uh, giving all of us an opportunity to meet so many people. Of course, I cannot see all these 36 people, the faces, but then please make us feel your presence with your chats and Q&A using the Q&A box so that we feel we are all really in front of each other. Okay, and welcome. I welcome you all. Good morning, good evening, whichever part of the day you are. I hope you are all well settled to really get into this panel discussion of career coaching. We did a rehearsal and it's really wonderful discussion we are going to get into. And this is the topic steer forward with career coaching. So, yeah, we are really going to steer forward here. And just a bit about set the stage for this, us to go ahead with this panel discussion. Just a few lines about career coaching, which we want to settle in your minds before we get into this. We have known that it's a fast-growing support that individuals at different stages of career reach out for, and usually it comes when one is in a juncture when you're seeking purpose. There may be various reasons you go want to build a career, but then suddenly when the sense of purpose comes in, you really sit and think. That's when career coaching really has shown to be much of benefit to people and really well received also. So coaching also enables individuals to craft a rewarding career. So, like I said again, rewarding and building a career, it's a totally different zones. Okay, which has that life vision also incorporated in the career, and acknowledging one's strength and tapping into the innate resourcefulness by customizing the needs of the person as such who is getting coached. So in this panel discussion, we have I don't know how this choice happened, but what I observed, I'll tell you. We have Alison Garrido from New Zealand joining us, and Jedi from Singapore joining us. When I did the practice session with them, what suddenly struck to me is Singapore is like a hub for the all the financing, all the every big company, everything you mention, any company they have a mention of Singapore, right? So that is such a happening place. And Allison is from a place where it's life. It's not just human beings, so many creatures, and I'm sure it's so close to life. And now we have these two speakers from two distinct uh, paths going to talk about career coaching, share their views. Just a bit about Allison. He's passionate about and revels in supporting professionals to identify their strengths, present themselves in the best possible light to create a path towards a more fulfilling career. So every word has a good weightage here. He's a more fulfilling career is also a point to be noted. He's an experienced global coach, trainer, and facilitator. Sorry, she. Uh, and she is known for her approachable style and contagious energy. She inspires people to move forward and put ideas into action. Co-founder of Systemic Coach Academy of New Zealand, Alison trains coaches and helps leaders in systemic practices also. Welcome, Alison. And now I would like to introduce Jedi also. Jedi is an MCC, and he's the global team leadership coach. He's the founder of Coaching Changes Lives and Asia's leading coach training, mentoring, and supervision institute. He's the creator of the transformative process, helping transform ordinary teams into performing teams that are built to last. Okay. And Jedi is a highly sought after keynote speaker on coaching. I already see that a lot of people recognize him. He's an award-winning coach, recognized as one of the top leadership coaches, and he's featured on the Forbes Coaches Council also. So I welcome Jedi also. And to bring the best out of Allison and Jedi, we have requested Priya Sharma Sheikh to moderate this session. So she's a wonderful coach, and a lot of you in India would have known her. She's the president for the Mumbai chapter. And she has held C-suite positions for over 25 years in financial services, media, FMCG, and education. She is now an ICF credential PCC, and as a growth catalyst, she helps individuals, teams, and organizations lead, communicate, and sell better, and grow from good to great. Okay, one sentence. I think you saw the long sentence with much more behind that, but we had to keep it short. She's also a mentor and personal brand builder for the C-suite executives, the author of Jangi. Wow. A warrior's journey and the president of this the Mumbai chapter. So these are the three people I'm so feeling so proud introducing the three members here who are going to really rock the show for the next 1 hour. So just a few guidelines here for those who want to make this interactive, even more interactive. Please use the chat. I will be monitoring the chat. I'll also be intervening this conversation. Priya, please allow me to do so whenever needed. If there are any pressing questions probably needs to be addressed immediately in that flow. So, participants, please feel free to post all your questions. It will be clean if you put your questions in the Q&A and share your feedback in the chats. There may be one or two questions coming up from the panel also, so be alert and let's make this as lively as possible. Priya, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that introduction, Shanti. And I'm so excited to have Jedi and Alison here with me on this panel. Steer forward with career coaching. The word steer forward is so empowering because it means that, you're putting all your energies towards moving forward growth. And that for me is amazing as even at the title of this session. So, I've always taught my kids that life is a consequence of the choices we make. And career choices, the decisions we take, the kind of path we choose. Once we are in there, how do we act? What kind of decisions we make? How do we interact with the people we are working with? How do we build and make our development of ourselves as a continuous process? These are all the choices we make. And yet, despite sometimes good intention, we don't make the choices as mindfully as we could or as we should. So I when I got this when I got anointed this session of saying that, hey, you're going to moderate this session, I say, what is a career? A career is a profession or a job that you have been trained for and do over a period of time, or perhaps in a series of jobs in a particular area of work, right? And to build a career is become something so meaningful for people that they start off at a young age, around at the age of 18, 20 or so, and they go all the way up to about 60. About 40 years of their life is spent in building that career. So I'd like to invite keeping that as context and seeing that how can we become more mindful of the choices we make and make our careers that much more fulfilling and more meaningful, and that much more valuable to us, and saying that yes, this is something that we're doing right. So let's start by understanding the two panelists and who they are and what their lives are all about. So, Jedi, I'll invite you first. That what is a day in your life look like as somebody who is working to help people have better careers?
Yeah. Well, thanks Priya, and thanks Shanti, and also Alison here, and welcome everyone to this panel discussion. So, a day in life for me, it's an exciting day. It's first to wake up, right? So I always thank God for a brand new morning. Waking up, it's a gift.
Wonderful.
Even just taking moments in the morning just to recount the blessings that you have with your family, with your loved ones. I think that is something really precious. Just to be able to wake up, to have an expectancy of things to come, of good to come. And how that happens is that throughout the day I may have coaching sessions with individuals from around the world, and individual sessions where we kind of connect to go deeper in different areas of their lives, their work, and their careers. And also we have coach trainings, and that's something really exciting where I have the privilege to really be involved in the coach development and coach training of individuals and coaches from around the world, bringing them through the different journeys, whether they're ACC, PCC, MCC, helping them support them in their career journeys, whether it's a coach or whether it's individuals out there in the organizations, and also in leadership and development. So really exciting. And yeah, so always looking forward to exciting things. Even like today, this morning, my morning is filled with exciting meetings, like meeting new friends, new people around the world. So it's always been a pleasure and joy to do that.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Jedi. Alison, let's call into you. What is a day in your life like as somebody who's helping people? manage their careers better and feel more fulfilled about their careers.
Thanks so much, Priya, and thanks, Shanti and Jedi as well. It's a real thrill to be here today. So today was a very exciting one, getting ready and thinking about how much fun we had even on our practice session to get to know each other a little bit. So for me, there's one-to-one career coaching work, and that one-to-one career coaching work is really focused on helping people identify their strengths and create that path toward a role that they'll really like. So oftentimes I work with people who are saying, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm not staying here. So it's really helping them to get that clarity around what their next step might look like. And then so that's the one-to-one work that I do with people globally. And then the one-to-many work is in two places. First, also looking at teams and helping teams to identify their strengths and work through how they can best work together. And then along with my wonderful business partner, Kathy Tracy, who's on the call, I'll give a wave to Kathy.
Hi,
so
Kathy.
she and I through the Systemic Coach Academy of New Zealand, we train coaches and leaders to facilitate systemic practices. So that's really about helping people understand how they impact systems and how systems impact them. So that's part of career coaching too, right? Every system we're a part of, every organization we're with leaves a mark. And we think about how can that serve us moving forward and what might not serve us so well moving forward. What do we need to move away from? That's me,
Fantastic.
the one-to-one.
Thank you so much for that. So now that we've got our introductions in place, we've said our little pieces, how about the three of us find out, or rather four of us, Shanti's also here, four of us find out what is the experience of people with coaching until date. Have they ever experienced a coach? Here is a poll. Can everyone please send in their responses? Okay. Well, we have ever experienced a coach, and 27% have experienced a career coach. So that's some information and food for thought for us as well as we get into this session, Alison and Jedi. And I invite you.
This is prone to happen. Yeah, just let's give her a moment. She'll be back. Oh, Priya, you're back?
I am. Can you see me or can you hear me rather?
We can hear you.
Both.
Oh, apologies for that. So, okay, so I'm closing the poll now. We've got a good response of about 77 plus people who have never received a career coaching experience. So that gives us food for thought for us also as we get into this session. So let's get into my next question for you, and which is, now that you have been in the space of career coaching for a while, Alison and Jedi, what is career coaching according to you? Can you help this audience understand it and how it came about to you?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Alison, would you like to start? Or I start first, okay?
I'll ask Jedi. Go ahead, start.
Okay, sure. Well, career coaching. Now, one of the most perplexing many people face is this idea of career. Oh, what exactly is a career? Is career different from a job? Is a job different from work? Is work different from life? Is life different from relationships? And it almost seems as if that career and life are kind of separate. And today we begin to hear these things of how do I kind of balance my career and my life, my relationships, my passions, my wants, and everything? How do I kind of balance that? Now, so the idea of trying to balance career or life, there's a presupposition there. The presupposition is that career and life are not on the same platform or not the same balance. Therefore, we have to try to balance. And this is purported by a lot of different media that's out there and policies that are out there. It kind of confuses people. It's, I wish I have more time. I wish I have more time for this or that. And as such, it impacts their career development. It impacts their career progression as well. But what if today we reconsider this and we see, hey, what if career and life are not separate? They're not opposite ends. But what if career and life are the same? right? What if career and life are one? They were never separate in the first place, right? So if we see career and life are one, we begin to see, hey, you know what? I don't have to try to struggle to try to, or try to balance this, balance that. If they're one, which means they're just two sides of the same coin. And this is how we begin to develop. Whatever happens in our career, we bring to life. Whatever happens in life, we bring to career. So there's one time I was coaching a senior executive, and he was telling me, Jedi, uh, every day I go to the office, I just dread going to the office because in the morning, I have to handle my kids, I have to handle my spouse, and if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, I have to go chase the kids out to school, and they made me upset, they made me frustrated. So when I went to office, my performance dropped. Yeah, so I need more help in performance. So, but what the person really needs, it's not more performance. What he really needs is something else, right? So oftentimes, my friends and my fellow coaches always hear me say that the problem is never the problem, and we begin to realize that the things that happens in life does have its transference or its impact into career. In the same thing as well, when we enter a career and we meet our bosses or a day in the work, and say, for example, you did a presentation and your boss kind of remarked or maybe criticized certain things that you've done. Now, the feeling that you felt there when you go back home, you translate that back home and you feel, wow, my work was terrible, everything was terrible, and it translates back home. So you notice that the vicious cycle of how career influence life, life influence career, and no wonder people are kind of stuck. And that's why it's so critical for people to have, and individuals, everyone around the world, to have career coaches. And this is something really important because career coaches helps us to kind of navigate through this whole journey. And most of us have never considered that all the way to we begin our journey in career, or some of us have already gone through careers and we are now in our second career or third career or fourth career or different seasons of career. So I like to give a metaphor. Career is really like driving a car. When we first started off, we are learning how to drive the car properly, right? We have instructors. So that depicts the education that we have from the time we are born all the way to the time we've entered tertiary education or formal education. Those are the times we begin to learn the handles. How do we do it? How do we turn? How we move? But the very first day, if you recall, the first day you begin to driving by yourself with your driver's license, that was the most scary day of your life, because the first thing you got to do is to get out of the car park. How many of you remember that time? It's terrifying, right? And the first day of many of our careers, it's the time when we graduate from formal education to enter our very first career, and it's terrifying. So today we have this idea, what I call adulting. Adulting is when the individual from a young individual who's beginning their journey into their first stage of career, and they begin to realize, hey, what is work all about? What are the peers all about? What I've read in books, what I know in theory, now I've got to see in real world, right? What I have in mind, the idealism I have in mind, now this is the real world. How do I navigate it? How do I move forward in that? And so getting out of the car park is one, navigating out and getting into the highway, that's the most scary part. So the initial few years, that's when many individuals find a very great need to have career coaches to really help support them, help them to get through in their journey. But thereafter, you begin to realize there's this thing called cruising stage. When we're on the highway, we don't have to worry so much because things are going really well. But that's when many people don't realize that they need a career coach ever more so. Because sometimes as we are on the cruise stage, we don't realize that, hey, you know what? Have I stopped learning? Have I stopped developing? Have I stopped thinking about things? And when we realize, oh, we have missed the exit point, we've missed the destination. So even on the highway of career, we have to be mindful. We have to engage career coaches to kind of work with us, to deepen us, and to work in different areas in our lives as well. And when we exceed, that's also one of the most challenging times as well. So you notice this, there are different stages, there are different seasons where we can employ career coaches, where we can engage and partner with them. And that's the beauty of career coaching. Career coaching is not just one time. When I have a problem, then I engage career coaches. No, career coaches is where you can partner with career coach throughout your entire journey, throughout your seasons in different stages, different seasons of life and work, to really help support you to get to where you really want to be, and to help you get a greater sense of who you are and a greater sense of alignment and congruence between what you believe in and what you want to do in both your work and your life and your relationships. Okay, so that's my short answer to a deep question.
Fantastic, Jedi. I'm loving all the terms you used, and I'm going to come back to them. But I would love to hear from Alison. What's her point of view on what Jedi has said here? And I'm there's so many thoughts that are coming, but I'm going to look at them together later. Alison.
Thanks, Priya, and thanks, Jedi. Yeah, I mean, thank you for such a beautiful analogy of learning to drive a car. And for me, a lot of the people I'm working with are in a place of saying, I'm not really sure how I got here. So often people are in careers based in circumstances, right? So I got out of school and then I got this job and I tried for a couple jobs and they didn't work out. So I ended up in this role, or then I moved to a new city and I ended up in this role. So a lot of times people find themselves in careers, and I hear all the time, oh, it was just an accidental career. I just fell into it, right? How many times have we heard people say that? So I think career coaches really help when you're thinking, okay, I don't really know how I got here. It's okay. I know that it's not what I love, but I should stay. Right? I should be happy. I should be grateful that I have a job. No one really likes their job anyways. So starting to tune into some of that self-talk that tends to happen when we're in a role that may not be the perfect fit, but we're just not sure what else to do. Those are the things that I'm commonly hearing from people. And it's that opportunity to say, actually, I'm going to take control and think about my career with some intentionality, to really think about, this is where I would like to go, right? We're back in the car with Jedi, but where's that car going? I'm on the highway, but what exit do I get off? Everything's moving really darn fast on this highway. So it's really helping people to tune into, what are the things that I really enjoy? What are the ways that I want to work? And how can I bring that forward and describe it to people in a way that makes sense? And it might be that people dig into their strengths a little bit and decide that they're absolutely in the right role, and it helps them really reinforce that although it might have been an accidental path, it's still the right path. Or it could be, oh, this has actually always bothered me. I've never felt like I did this very well. And it might be because the things that they're doing rub up against their strengths. So I often describe it like a low ceiling. So every time someone tries to stand up, they hit their head. And they don't know why, but it's really frustrating. So starting to tune into, what are the things I really like? What are my strengths? It really empowers people to say, oh, I do have these things I'm good at. I do know what I want, but this role might not be set up in the right way for me to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Alison and Jedi, for sharing what is career coaching according to both of you. And Jedi, I'd like to do a follow-up question to you there. You said something like careers like driving a car and learning to drive. That actual visualization was fantastic, to be able to, get out of that car park and then navigate and then get onto the highway and then get to the cruise state. Beautiful way of depicting the entire thing. Tell me a little bit about this adulting phase that you spoke about, and let's talk a little bit about that a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Priya. In fact, adulting is something that is really, really up and coming, and it's a new terminology of the younger generation. We begin to see that in the formal education sector, many individuals have gone through life that has been kind of predetermined. The governments or policies have said, okay, you got to, this is your journey, right? You start in primary school or grade school to middle school to high school, or to primary school, secondary school, and to universities. So your pathway is kind of set, right? This is how you should go. So coming from an Asian background, here in Southeast Asia, many parents and many cultures here and traditions is that study hard, get a good job, get married, get kids, let the grandparents play the kids, and then the cycle goes on. This is the circle of life, okay, here in Asia. And it's almost as if, we've got to do this. So everything is kind of laid out for us. So when a child is at a very young age, they never had to think about, what should I choose? Because every single choice has been predetermined by them. Even today as well, I was just talking to the minister, to several leaders in the education sectors as well as policymakers. I said, hey, we got to fundamentally rechange and rethink the idea of education. Because right now, many of the educational tracks, universities have predetermined year one modules. So when young students enter the universities, the first year has been predetermined by the universities. Tertiary education as well. They have said, okay, this is the core modules. Everyone has to learn the same core modules. Mm-hmm. Now, although it does some benefit to it, but what it does on the opposite end, it's that it affects them a lot, because now they cannot be independent to make the choice. And universities are the best time to make wrong choices. Because today, many students are afraid if I make the wrong choice in year one, it will affect my entire GPA score. And no wonder when they enter their first career, they find that they cannot sustain that. And you find many young individuals jumping from careers in a very few short months or few years. 1 year, they jump to next career, to next career, to next career. So adulting is that phase of transition from formative education to reality or stepping into the real workspace. So I had many young individuals came to me and say, Jedi, in fact, it's not the young individuals, the parents that came to me. Yeah, so there's one parent that I remember. He was about 70 years old, and he said to me, Jedi, can you help me coach my son? So in my mind, I thought that okay, your son means it's a little small boy or a young child, and I said, okay, tell me more about your son. Oh, my son doesn't want to get out to work. I said, okay, where is he? Oh, he's at home most of the time. He doesn't want to get out. And when I asked him one question, I said, okay, how old is your son? I'm just curious. He said, oh, 30 years old. 30 years when he doesn't want to get out of the house and he still stays with his parents. So it's really interesting, right? So this whole phase of adulting describes this entire journey of a young individual transiting through this first phase, entering the workforce, all the way up to their age 35. Because that time period is a really crucial period where they begin to experience what the world really is about. Workplace conflicts, competition at workspace, politics at the workspace, bureaucracy that they face with. How do they navigate all these things together with the relationships? So many young individuals, when they enter the workforce, there's so many things going for them. No wonder they feel pressured. No wonder they feel the stress of the work. And that's why career coaching is there for them to help them through this whole phase, what we call adulting. So that's adulting 1.0. In adulting 2.0, there's a new shift. There's a paradigm shift. It's no longer just dealing with all the things that's happening around them, but also dealing with their own individual passions, their own individual wants and needs. Where do I really want to be? Because now they're at the stage of independence. They get to choose whatever they want to do. And so sometimes they are afraid, what if I make the wrong choice? How do I find a greater sense of self? How do I find a greater sense of who I am in this whole journey? Right? I don't want the world to tell me this is where I should go. I want to be able to make choices by myself. So 2.0, we begin to shift to that individual, who they are as an individual.
Wow. So coming into their own, their inner growth there, I think self-discovery happens at that stage, and they're wanting to say, okay, what do I do from here with all that I've experienced, all the strengths that I have, and build upwards. Is that right, Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much for all that. I'd like to move to Alison. Alison, you spoke about strengths being one of the strong things that people should be leaning into. Tell us a little bit about that how to discover the strengths and what aspect of strengths works and helps with the choices that you make.
Absolutely. So I regularly use a tool. It used to be called Strengths Finder, and now it's called Clifton Strengths. So people might be familiar with the little white book with red writing on it. It's been around for a really long time. And it's published by Gallup. And Gallup does heaps and heaps of research around employee engagement that some of you may have seen. And what they see over and over is that when a person is able to use their strengths on a daily basis, they're happier both at home and at work. We also see that when managers focus on an employee's strengths, the employees are far more likely to be engaged and less likely to leave the organization. So when people start to understand what their strengths are, they're really able to articulate and find ways to do things that will play to those strengths. So I worked with someone recently who we went through the Strengths Finder Clifton Strengths Assessment together. And the next time we spoke, she said, our chat about my strengths helped me change everything about the way I just organized my kids' school holidays. And that to me was like, wow, it's not just, right, as Jedi mentioned, it's not one and the other, right? I'm work Alison and now I'm home Alison, right?
Home Alison. Yeah.
In the way that I think of strengths, and the way that Clifton Strengths thinks about them is really about your innate abilities. So it's not the strengths that you try really hard to build. It's almost like your default setting. And because strengths are your default setting, it's really easy not to notice them, right? Because they're just the way you are. And it's also, once you start to look at your strengths, it also can change your relationships, because the more you think in that strengths way, you can also start to see other people's strengths even when they're doing things that might not be aligned with your strengths, they might get on your nerves a little bit, right? So I know that my strengths are, for example, in individualization, right? So I change my approach depending on my audience, and I really tune into people's needs. And some people's strengths are consistency, and those people love rules. And I know I need those people, but if I'm not thinking of it through a strengths lens, I might be more prone to say, leave me alone, I don't like your rules. So it's really cool to be able to start to see that both as you think about making a career change, but even as you think of progressing in your own career and how you're interacting with people. And it's not just that assessment that you can use to discover your strengths. The other ways are you might kind of do a little reflection on what are the things that really light you up. What do you enjoy at work? A favorite exercise of mine to identify strengths is to take your CV and reorder all your CV bullets in the order in which you enjoyed doing those things, right? So this isn't a CV that is shorter than anything else, right? But you get to start to see themes of, oh, I actually really enjoyed the same kinds of things over and over. So how do I get more of that? And it might not be a huge life change. It might be reorganizing how you're doing the kids' school holidays, or how you're doing your work, or planning your day, or getting involved in projects. Little tweaks can make a big difference when you start to realize what your strengths are.
Fantastic. I'm loving that. Another exercise that I also enjoy with discovering strengths is identifying a really challenging time in your life. And there you come across that what are the key things that you brought forth? What's the energy you brought forth to make things happen and, take yourself to the finishing line? So lovely. Thank you for those perspectives. I'd love to also understand from you that what are the key elements of career coaching for youngsters, and how is it different for career coaching for middle management, or people who are, say, 15, 20 years into their career? What's the approach that you take, and what are the things to keep in mind?
I think that's a really interesting.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Alison.
Oh, thanks. So I know Jedi works a lot more with young, just recent uni graduates than I do, but I think that a lot of the same things will apply, right? Because we're focusing on people's strengths, their values, what they really enjoy. And what we see is those things don't tend to change drastically unless someone has a major life event that makes their values change drastically. So it's really helping people with the experience they have, tune into that, and also look at what is their mindset. What are the stories that they're telling themselves about how things should be at every stage?
Nice. Jedi, what about you?
Well, one of the privilege I had was in training coaches in the specialty of career coaching. So helping and support, doing a lot of coach supervision for coaches who are dealing with different layers of executives, whether is it from transition from the tertiary education to beginning their first career, or career changes in throughout the whole journey. In fact, now one of the exciting things I'm working with a lot of coaches with, I think some of our coaches here, Victor and some of our friends here, it's that helping them once a career is over, what's next? Right? So individuals who are in the 50s and 60s, they kind of finish their official formative career, but now they want something new, something fresh, right? Because they have another good 40 years ahead of their lives. So what do I do then? So this is where we call the 2.0, life 2.0, right? Life 2.0 is like, okay, so I have adulting 1.0, 2.0, now it's life 2.0. What's going to happen there? Well, one of the key difference throughout all these different phases is for us, first as coaches, to be responsive to the needs of every individual. Right, so I could say that categories of individuals like this, transitions are like this, and people who are in the 60s are like that. But one of the big things I want to make sure of, it's always having UPR. UPR stands for unconditional positive regard for every single individual that I face with. And that is really critical because sometimes throughout this whole learnings of career, we read so much, we learn so much about it. And in fact, I have an upcoming research paper that I'm writing on metaphors and in coaching and careers, how those impact every single individual. And if we're not careful, it becomes a cognitive bias within us as coaches, or becomes our own natural heuristics. And to avoid that, one of the things we want to do is that with the client in front of us, We want to come in with a blank state of mind, just experiencing them, working with them through the whole journey, partnering with them in a way that really honors the experience for the individual client. And so one of the key distinctions across all these generations is the needs may change, but every single generation, every single shift, it's always about hearing this one thing, like, I want to have a greater sense of who I am, right? So you're hearing this underlying story again and again and again, the story of themselves. And in fact, one of the coachings that I always do, it's this is one of the things that a lot of individuals come to me. It's this thing called Brave Your Story. It's my signature coaching program where individuals begin to live out who they are on the inside, begin to realize that, hey, it's not trying to go from good to great. The idea of going from good to great means that you're not good or you're not there yet. But I say, hey, what if we change the goalposts? What if greatness was already there within you? What if the potentiality for greatness was already there? We're not trying to be great. The greatness is a state of being. You're already there, right? But it's that realization, very much like a mustard seed. I would say, hey, think of us like seeds, career seeds. So we're planting seeds. Us as coaches, we are like the watering them. We're just helping them nurture, putting a good soil, helping them to grow. And say, hey, my role is not, if the tree grows to a giant tree with bearing great fruits, I'm not the one who caused that. I was just one of that, service providers. I was just one of the tenderers to the garden, to nurture, to help them to unleash the true potential within. And that's the beauty of career coaching. It's to help an individual and see them grow through the generations. I recall one time when I was coaching this young individual. In fact, they're triplets. So there's two boys who are identical and the sister. So they are triplets. And it was very interesting. They all had different personalities. And when I coached them, they were 9 years old. Today, they're in their mid-20s. So
Wow.
I got to see them progressing through the entire journey, and it was tremendous. It's a true blessing and honor to live through many different lives, and I really love that a lot. And so that's something really powerful for me.
Fantastic. What beautiful visualization. You are such a visual person, Jedi. So many lovely things about the seeds and the highway. And I'm just like imagining all these things happening. I'm feeling like a tree, with deep roots and, wanting to flower. So thank you for that once again. And I love the piece about braving your story. Beautiful once again. So my next question is, Alison, let's take this with you. Can you share an example, a case example of where career coaching really impacted the client and the kind of impact it had?
Absolutely. I hope you'll forgive me. I have one short one and one that's a little bit longer because I just couldn't choose when I was getting ready for this. Because I think that oftentimes when we think, I need a career coach because I need to make a major change.
Yeah.
And so I want to tell us a story about someone that didn't and someone that did. So I worked with someone who worked at a small agency. She was one of two people. And the way that the organization was set up was the person that she was working with was the client-facing person. And she was doing everything behind the scenes. And she wasn't happy in her role, and she needed a job change, is the story that she had when she came to me. And through some self-discovery and building that self-awareness of what she really liked within her work, she ended up realizing that it wasn't that she needed to change roles. It was that she wanted to work alongside her, the person that she was working with. It wasn't her partner. The person she was working with was a founder of the organization. But instead of that person being the face and her sitting behind, what they ended up deciding was that they would be next to each other. And so her colleague would have a certain subset of clients and she would have the other subset of clients. So she was able to take them through the whole journey. So it wasn't a major change. It was her having a conversation. And for her to realize that and see, like, I actually have everything I want in my role right in front of me was so powerful. And my big change person made a change from being a music producer to a nurse. And I choose this story. Yeah, it was a huge change. And I choose this story mostly to illustrate that it wasn't, we had a session, then he decided he would be a nurse, right? It was absolutely a journey, and it was a journey in testing that idea. So it was, I think I'm actually interested in pursuing something in the medical profession. And then it was talking to people who had those kinds of roles. And then it was taking a course. So he had some of those core skills. And then it was volunteering at a hospital. And so there were all these tiny steps, and it's that old, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time.
Yes.
And when we think of career change, sometimes we think, oh my gosh, how could I go from being a career coach to a veterinarian? And it's like, it's not, I'm not going to be a veterinarian on Monday. That's what I choose, right? It's going to be a journey. So sometimes it is a big change, but it's never, very rarely a big change in the blink of an eye.
Thank you so much for that. That's so true. How to eat an elephant. And it's every one step at a time. Super. Thank you for that, Alison. Jedi, would you like to share any case example where career coaching made an impact?
Yeah, in fact, that is something really interesting. I did a live demonstration of a coaching session in one of my classes called Mastering Coaching, and I videoed that down on YouTube, so you guys can watch that, where I brought an individual who was considering becoming a coach. He was kind of in his, I think he was in his 40s, 50s, he was kind of 50s, and he was thinking whether should he go back to the workforce or should he transit into a professional coach. So from the lens of, today I've seen a lot of marketers say, oh, you can be a coach. Coaches can make a lot of money. Come on, just sign up for my program today. I've seen a lot of false advertising out there, and no wonder many people are confused. And that's why ICF is here, and that's why the ethics and professional standards of coach is to help the world realize what coaching really is. It's not about, oh, become a coach and make 7 figures. And I think that's really, really terrible messaging out there. So this individual, he was in his 50s, and he was considering between going to the journey of professional coaching or going back to the workforce. So through the whole coaching process, and he was just thinking, should he not? Should he not? It's always this state of ambivalence, and in the process, one of the things that brought light to him was he began to realize, hey, what is it that he truly wants? Not what the peers around him are wanting, because the peers around him is actually giving him the pressure, because everyone around him, is saying that, you know what, I can be a career coach, I can be a leadership coach, I can be an executive coach, I can be this, wow. And everybody's starting to talk about their website, their branding, and no wonder he felt the pressure, right? Because his peers are all talking about that. But I said, hey, you know what do you want for yourself? So I asked him one very simple question, and I said, hey, what do you want for yourself? And I always tell coaches, I said, one of the underlying thing that every single client that we meet is this one thing, right? This one amazing phrase. What do they want? What do they really, really want? They wanna. So what do they really want, right? So that's what I'm listening for. What do they really, really want? And what are they not saying? What are they trying to tell me? And I'm supporting them in that process to help review that for them. So at the end of the session, he says, you know what? I think I kind of got it. So 3-4 years has passed since the time I had a coaching session with him, and today he's very happy. He's not in the field of coaching, but he's doing his other careers and he's enjoying a lot, right? And he gave me the blessing to just push that on YouTube so that many other individuals can be impacted by the video as well. So one of the interesting things was this, that I learned that in the session itself, you may have coaches taking on coaching programs, but that doesn't mean that everybody will necessarily be a professional coach. You could be a headhunter, but you're learning coaching skills for talent placement, right? You can be a HR practitioner, but learning coaching skills. You can join Alison, you can join Mike, or join me as well in different programs, but you're learning the coaching skills to help empower lives out there. And today, the idea of leaders as coaches becomes more and more proliferated. But I like to change the concept. It's no longer just leaders as coaches, but everyone as coaches. Everyone learning coaching, having a coaching mindset, learning some coaching competencies.
Yes.
Yeah, and allowing that becoming a coaching culture across organizations, across life, and across relationships.
Absolutely. Can't agree more, because that's the thing, the world can be a better place if we all have a coaching mindset. And I believe it should be taught at school level, not even at once you become adults. It should be at baby level, how to have a coaching mindset. So I'm going to have one last observation here with you, Alison, if you can share with me, what's the difference, or Jedi, one of you can share with me, what's the difference between coaching and other support, tools that are available that people could use to, move their careers forward? Anyone can go on this question. Yeah.
Sure, I'll go ahead and jump in. Thanks, Jedi. Yeah. So really, coaching is, and most of us at ICF are very familiar with that partnership piece, right? A coach isn't there to give advice, to have a strong push for what you should do. Coaches don't have an agenda besides helping you to discover what is the right answer for yourself. So that's not to say that there isn't great room for other professionals, but it's important to know that coaches are there as an accountability buddy. Coaches are there for partnership. Coaches are there to ask you the deep questions, but coaches come from that place of knowing that you have the answers. And it's my job to help you get some clarity. It's my job to help you with the right activities, help you with the right questions. But I often apologize to people that there isn't the assessment that I can give you that tells you should be an architect. Right? We need to talk about what you enjoy doing and what is your purpose. What are the things that light you up, to see if what is that thing, whether it's architecture or something else. But it's just not as simple as us telling people what to do.
Super. Awesome. So thank you very much for that. Jedi, would you like to add to that, or should we go straight into questions?
Yeah, maybe I just gave a thought there on the using assessments for careers. It's likened to just throwing a piece of coin and say, which career should I do? Should I work in McDonald's or Starbucks? If you flip a coin, that's not how career works. And I say the most important thing is to have a conversation with someone. You may not have a coach, but talk to someone. Talk to someone and share your thoughts, share your ideas, because that is going to be an important journey, and that's why coaches are here. And in fact, one of the things that I always say in our mastering coaching journey is this: that coaching fundamentally is about having conversational mastery, having the ability to really listen, to evoke the sense of awareness for clients, and really help them to realize what do they really want for themselves, right? And even if they make mistake, that is fine. Right? It's not about helping them to make the perfect choice, but helping them to make the choice so that they can move forward. Yeah.
Fantastic. And also empowering them and trusting that they know really what they want to do intrinsically. It's about making them believe in themselves once again. And that's the beauty of what a coach does. So thank you very much for all of that. Let's move to the questions here. I have a question from Praveen Sati, who says, are we as career coaches equipped to get into the private space of coaching that is impacting his or her career development, specifically rational crisis, personal responsibilities the coachee cannot wriggle out of, etc.? Anyone could take this question.
I grabbed the last one. If you want to take this one, Jedi, and I'll add.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, if you want to go into the private space of the coachee or the client, you got to ask for permission, and it's not really our place to say, hey, okay, I think this is the place to go. Let's go inside there. Now, we can use intuition in the coaching process, but wherever it comes closer into the world of the client, always ask the client for permission. He said, hey, this is an example. He said, hey, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client or client, I'm kind of sensing something there. I have a little observation. Is it okay if I have permission to share something with you, or is it okay if we take a step further to explore more? Would that be okay? So asking that permission before diving in deeper, especially areas where it might be sensitive and the client might not be ready.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Would you like to add to that, Alison?
And I just add to that, knowing your comfort level as a coach with going into places that may or may not be right for your expertise or your practice, and being able to maybe hold space in a place while they share, and also knowing that recontracting is so important, right? Do you want to take this turn?
Lovely. Thank you for that. The next question is from Bhavna Krishnan, and she says, would certification and career coaching help to become a career coach? What is taught more beyond ACC and PCC? That's a coach asking that question, yeah.
That's a great question. We need to have more conversations on that. Okay, so ACC, okay, there's two distinctions. ACC, PCC, MCC are credentialing levels. They form the basis of the core competencies and the depth of understanding of the core competencies. Now, beyond that, it's not career coaching something else, or leadership coaching something else, or whichever something else. It's based on that foundation that we have. If we're specializing in career coaching, what are the requisite knowledge I need to have, right, to really support an individual? to really get to where they really want to be. So that's something important. So there are career coaching programs that are out there to really help you to grow in your knowledge and your skill sets as to support your clients in career coaching. So that becomes the specialization. So I think Alice and myself in our respective academies will have programs like this to support you wherever you are. But important to understand the distinctions. One, it's that coaching skills, and the other one is your specialization for your clients, and whichever layers that you want to support your clients, then that is something important for them. Now, would you really need a certification? Well, I always say this, depending, we need to have a conversation to see where we are right now in terms of our journey, whether you have sufficient resources, what is your time frame like, what are your considerations, what are your impact that you want to make. And it's not about signing programs after programs, but having the clarity about where you want to go. And I'm a firm believer, it's not just signing up for programs, and it's not just promoting for new programs to sell, but it's about understanding what is it that really makes sense for you in your journey towards where you want to be. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Then we have a question from Sriram Krishnan, who says, what would be a good tool for coaches that will help identify a career path for students and working professionals? Alison, would you like to go?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record. It's just my tool of choice is the Clifton Strengths. But there's lots of really beautiful, like there's the VIA assessment, which is Values in Action, which is a free tool that's available online for people. These are really, it's that self-discovery, right? It's helping them really tune into what are the things that they enjoy, what are their natural tendencies, and how could that show up at work. So that's my tool of choice, but it's not to say that others aren't really valuable as well. Jedi, do you have certain ones that you use?
Yeah, in fact, one of the best tools is the tools that you create in the moment of the client. Sometimes I use a very simple drawing, pictures. I try not to use too much of the tools, because sometimes the client, I just rely on the tool to tell them what to do, to make the choices for them. I want to support them to make the choice by themselves, not, oh, the tool say this, the tool say that, so therefore I go. Today I see a lot of people, my MBTI says this, or my DIC says that, or my Enneagram says this, so therefore I choose careers like this. I've seen people who choose a career that's opposite from their personality, and they are having so much success, so much enjoyment, so much life. And that's something that is a discovery process, and that's why that's the role of a career coach. A career coach is not there to give you assessments. The career coach is there to partner you, to have a conversation with you, to really figure out what makes most sense to you.
Lovely. Beautiful. Even I rely a lot on personal, in the moment discoveries. And thank you for that, Jedi, for acknowledging that as well. What has been your experience with career coaching for people transitioning from individual roles to managerial roles, says Sarita Bahal. Alison, would you like to go?
Sure. So there's so much that's there for people around making that transition from peer to manager, right? And so that tends to be a lot of work around mindset and thinking about, how do I want to show up in this new way, and how will I stay authentic to who I am while I'm also growing in my career. So it's people looking at, what is my leadership identity? How am I setting the right expectations, and really helping them to uncover that. I often, when I'm talking with leadership groups about coaching and using coaching as a tool, I often share the story of, if you've ever had a friend or partner or loved one that you've told them to do something so many times, you've just said, you should do this, this is a great idea. And then they come to you and they say, hey, I have this great idea. And you're like, I've been telling you that for 3 years. They needed to find it themselves. And that's so often the piece. I think we've all touched on it in little ways today, but the coaching is about getting people to really realize what is true for them and how they want to move forward, what will best serve them.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that. That's happened so much in my life as well. And I can't help but agree that that's so true. You could come back and say, hey, guess what? And I say, oh, well, you realize that this is something that has happened with my own children as well. So, all right, so here we go. More and more people are reclaiming, at least trying to, the reins of their career as they are having epiphanies during this pandemic. As a result, they are stuck in subliminal periods. how are you helping your clients who are in such a space? This is asked by Abhijit Bhattacharya.
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, whether is it one pandemic or multiple pandemics in the future, or whatever situations happens, this is what we call the environmental factors that influence a lot of things that's happening on the inside of us. And so sometimes this sanguine feeling, or this state where they're feeling, oh, hey, where should I go? Where should I find a greater sense of self, or this transition that they're feeling. Now, when that happens, we first have to address what is that real concern. What is the underlying concern for the client, right? And how that has kind of shifted the loci of control away from them. Have they allowed the external factors to kind of shift that away from them, or are they still having that agility within themselves for that? So sometimes what we call the agility to face any life jaunts, right, or the jaunts of great life's journey, comes with different things that comes against us. So one of the great things to do is sometimes to have them to just sit down with you, to take a pause, step out, and what we call dissociative states. I teach this in our mastering coaching as well as on the team leadership coaching classes, where we talk about this idea of switching between associative states and dissociative states. So associative states are when clients are, this is causing me pain. The pandemic caused me to lose my business. Oh, the flood caused me my business, blah blah. So I'm associated to the context. When we say dissociative states, we're saying, hey, okay, let's step out of there. If we have the bird's eye view, if we're observing from a vantage point, what are we learning from here? How can we take what we're learning and help us to move forward? We can't change the past because the past is in the past. In fact, one of the greatest poets ever said this, right? She says this: "Let it go, let it go. I'm one with the wind and sky. Let it go. They never see me cry." Right? So there's something really powerful there that the poet says, and her name is called Elsa. You should find it out, right? And so in the stories that we begin to find, hey, what is it that we truly want? And those moments are great moments to have a coach to sit down with you to explore. How do I want to do this? Let's take a breather. How do I want to do that, right? And before, I have had experience when one of my clients says, Jedi, you know what I need to do? I need to take a 1 year sabbatical to find myself. I said, what are you really looking for out of the sabbatical? Yeah, because it's not the sabbatical she's looking for, because all friends are doing sabbatical. So, okay, I think I need a sabbatical, right? So after the sabbatical, they need a sabbatical from a sabbatical. So you realize that, so one of the key things at the end of the day is to help an individual, sit down with them, find out what is it that's really bothering them, to help them realize that the cold never bothered them anyway.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Alison, you're laughing so much. You like
the song references. I'm sorry, he had Spice Girls, we've got Frozen. I'm having a ball.
I know. Amazing. So listen, there's one question here. Rahul, one of your questions has been answered. The next question he has is interesting, so I'll bring that up. How do you handle a client with whom you have done a lot of discussions to get clarity on the way ahead? However, he or she is still confused about their career direction and the next move or the transition. What would your approach be?
I can pop in that one. I mean, I think that there's a lot of work that we can do internally, right? To identify what are people's motivation, what do they think could be next. So I guess two things. Now, there might be another layer of where is the confusion? What is that next step? And if, as we were talking about the last question, right now it feels like people want change just for change's sake. Right? So it might be that nothing's attractive because nothing is getting to the core of that issue. So it might be that we need to do some deeper work. I talked a little bit about the systemic work we do, but oftentimes, people are being loyal to a system that is not serving them anymore. It might be there's a story that I'm telling myself that, a mentor always told me I should do this, and I kind of can't get out of that pattern. The other thing is we do all this wonderful internal work, but there's some questions that just other people can answer. So it might be, I think I want to do this work, but I don't know anything about it. Maybe we should be having some chats with people who are doing that work so we can get a little bit of clarity. And it's, again, doing those baby steps of actions outside of the coaching that might help to get more information.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Alison. I have a question that had come up in my conversation with my daughter last night. And she said to me, she says, it would be interesting to know from your panel, what are the various topics on which you get career coaching, requirements? Things like, say, for example, salary, promotions, role, etc. What are the kinds of topics that you get career coaching done on?
Yeah, mainly it's on progress. They want to get better paycheck, next higher position, and sometimes they don't want to compromise the lifestyle. Yeah, so some of the clients I deal with, I cannot compromise my lifestyle. I need something more and something more.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, sitting down with them and say, hey, you know what is it that you really want now? I've met clients as well. Some of the topics is that, okay, I had enough of this hustle and bustle. I want something else. I want something that fulfills me on the inside. I have been to that spectrum, experiencing life on that side, drinks and everything. But now I want to be able to give back. So these are the two, general themes that I've experienced so far.
And I just add to that some of the some of the more transactional things or the one-off things might be, I'd like help with a conversation. I need to think about how I tackle a conversation, a performance review conversation, either end of the performance review conversation, interview preparation, salary negotiation, those kinds of things where it's like, I actually really want to be thoughtful and think about the different approaches I can have to this conversation in this relationship.
Wow.
Nice,
Wow.
lovely.
Did we not lose track of time?
Like really been amazing.
Yeah. Did we not lose track of time?
Yeah, we are almost. We have lost track of time, and we are 4 minutes up. And there's one last question. Let me take this. This is again from Rahul. He says, do you think sector knowledge helps in career coaching? Do you think sector knowledge helps in career coaching in terms of relating to the problem statement as well as helping the client navigate through the options?
For us, answer? Yeah.
Jedi, would you like to go?
Yeah, one word: over-identification. So you may experience over-identification of the issues. So that's something I'll be mindful of, especially if I have a lot of requisite knowledge in the particular domain. So nothing wrong with that. It's useful to have knowledge in that particular field, but just be careful of over-identifying because of your experience, because of your past history, that might influence the conversation.
Yeah, in fact, though your blind spots, which you had, may influence the conversation that you're in. So, it's in my opinion, it's not really something that. So, I think we are good. The questions are all done. Thank you so much. You have been such a delightful, set of experts in the space of career coaching. I am feeling enriched. And Shanti, over to you to thank the panel and the participants who've stayed on this morning for this session.
Yeah, that's it. That's it I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Really, I mean, I'm feeling so profound with so many words here. Like you eat the elephant bit by bit. This whole aspect of moving from the, parking garage to the final cruising state, being the seeds, and us as coaches, being just watering them and nurturing them. I mean, life 2.0 and adulting 2.1 and 2.0, and so many concepts have come out in this session. Thank you for all your generosity, both Alison and Jedi. This has been phenomenal. Namaste to both of you. And until next time.
Thanks to you, Priya, for making this such an engaging one. And chats and Q&A. You've taken care of everything. Life made easy. And really, I enjoyed this session thoroughly. Because
we must thank all the participants as well. They've
been amazing. And thank you all for being here, for your questions. And see you around at the conclave.